Okay, we tested this multiple times already, and I'm still like halfway paranoid that it's not gonna work. Even though I know that's bullshit, because we just tested it like 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
But it's probably fine. Probably, he says. So I've been doing work since you left. Lots of charms.
I see. Lots of charms.
Lots of charms that I didn't have before. I was introducing this game to a guy named Ross, one of my friends in college, who's like, he's trying to like start up his own YouTube thing and everything. And he's been like, one of the games he's been procrastinating on is Hollow Knight. So I ran through a few episodes with him, kind of introduced him to what it was without spoiling too much. He is playing it now, and I think he's like averaging around 12 to 15 hours a day.
Wow.
So
wow.
we sold the fuck out of that game.
Well, you sold it to me back then, if I'm being honest. Like, I obviously I had the intention of playing the game, especially because Globku and Fgeitas also played the game previously.
Right.
But then, like, I edited a video for you, and it was like, nah, I need to play this game.
Like, no, you need to play it.
it's gonna happen now, and I did, and it was amazing. Like, I love this game.
And it was the greatest experience ever.
I just it's funny because I keep throwing this game at people. Like, I just want people to play this game as much as possible, because I think of it as sort of this. People will play it, obviously love it, but then it's also not a AAA game, and sometimes people stay away from indies, right? And that's why I try to like put this game on people's minds. Which is just stupid. That's true. Like,
outrageously stupid.
The best games I've played for a while have been indies. Like, there are some good AAAs that obviously make a difference. Like, I'm not playing Final Fantasy VII. And I'm having a blast.
Oh, dude, that game's good as shit.
I'm having a great time with that game, but it's like, Hollow Knight was amazing. Ori and the Blind Forest back in the day. Outer Wilds, which I've spoken as well. It's like an indie.
Outer Wilds is good. I still have not played Ori, and I really fucking need to.
That
really
is
badly.
Yeah. That's an amazing game, and it started as sort of an indie, right? Now it's more like a AAA. Like, there's more investment there, even though it's like the size of the game is not.
I heard the production value on Will o' the Wisps was a huge, like, it was a massive step up from the first one, apparently.
Oh yeah. And the game, it's just amazing. Like, that game is amazing. And you see, it's just like, it's not that for example, Hollow Knight, it has the same thought to it, and it has that unique vibe as well, and it plays great. Everything is great. I think it's just in terms of maybe visually, I guess, that you see the difference in the budget overall. Like, because the quality, I wouldn't even say like Ori is better than Hollow Knight because it has a bigger budget. No, that's not the thing. Hollow Knight is a special thing by itself, and the budget was not great compared to other games, right? But even then, like, the second Ori is definitely a higher budget game compared to the first one, because the game sold so well. Microsoft was like, yeah, this needs to.
I wonder what the difference in budget's gonna be between this game and Silksong. Because, like, the budget, honestly, I'm not going to say they keep delaying it because an official release date for Silksong hasn't even been announced. But I feel like they're staving it off so frequently because they want to keep adding shit to it. Because they're like, do we have the budget for this? And then they see how well this game sold, and they're like, fuck, yeah, we have the budget for that.
Yeah,
so it becomes this thing of like adding a bunch of new things in. There's like, and they keep staving off the release date. It's like, no, like we said it would be spring 2020, and which that's busted by now.
Yeah.
So
And
now
like,
it turned into like July or August 2020, and now it's apparently supposed to come out even later. I think they just keep adding shit to it.
They're not
like,
delaying it.
Holy shit, we have a great budget for this game because of how well the first one sold.
they're not delaying it, but it's like as if they are really delaying it, because they don't really mention the game at all. It seems like the game is not even a thing.
The game has not been given a release date ever.
Yeah.
It's just been estimates.
It's estimates, but like it seems that at some point they're about to ramp up the advertising for the game.
Oh yeah.
But then it just stops. Like I think they might have shown stuff too early. That is what I feel that maybe happened. Is maybe they show stuff too early, but at the same time, like, is it really harming? No, not really. I don't think so, because
Well, the fact that it got mentioned on Treehouse, like, to begin with, is fucking huge. Like, way back when, like, when it first demoed on the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
That was huge for the publicity of that game, for sure.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't think it's probably not even gonna harm anything in terms of production. Not like, say, Overwatch, where people just lost interest.
Motherfucker.
In Overwatch 1, pretty much because
What's that?
the second one got announced. It's so long down the line.
Okay, that was their fucking fault, though, because, like, the team, like, during BlizzCon, the entire team, Jeff included, was like they answered the question of, like, yeah, is there gonna be new content for Overwatch soon? And they answered it by saying, we're actually kind of going dark for a little bit because we want to focus on Overwatch 2. And that was pretty much a green light for everyone to be like, okay, time to ignore this game for 8 fucking months.
Time to play Valorant.
Time to play Valorant or League of Legends or Team Fortress or anything fucking else.
Yeah.
Except Overwatch. So that was their own goddamn fault.
Yeah, that's true. But and that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't feel like Silksong has the same problem, because I think that people that are waiting for the game are gonna still buy it and play it. One thing I hope for Silksong, though, is that the higher budget represents a bigger investment in advertising as well, so that more people get the game, like it reaches more a broader audience, right? Because I don't feel like this game gets the love it deserves sometimes, because not a lot of people play the game because it's an indie game.
I think Mossbag made a really funny tweet about talking about how, like, Hollow Knight spent so much time being viewed as the underrated, like, indie platformer of 2017 and 2018, and now he's drawn the conclusion, and to an extent I agree. I'm not sure if I agree completely, but now he's saying, it's like, if anything, Hollow Knight has sort of become overrated because its current creators won't shut up about it, like me.
Well, yeah. I see that, and also, like, we're saying that the game is not really well known, which is which
sucks.
But at the same time, it's not really true, because the game was super successful, right?
It didn't have, the launch wasn't huge, but it garnered a pretty nice cult following after a while.
Yeah,
which just kept building, and like 3 years later, it's one of the most played indie platformers ever.
Yeah. It got recognition over the years, but I still think the game deserves to be played more. But with that being said, it doesn't mean that the game sucks.
I'm still one of the few people in my, like, current circle, I guess you could call it. I'm still one of the few people that even knows what Hollow Knight is. It's not like, it's still not mainstream for sure. I don't think it ever will be.
I will say that obviously, like, Pedro plays everything that comes out on Switch. Like, Pedro loves Nintendo.
Yeah.
Is a bit of a fanboy, right? So he had to play this game. Lewis, he appreciates these games, like these indie games, as well. So they both played it before me, actually. I usually the first thing it came to mind when I saw something about this game was there's this thing called Pantheon of Hollownest, and I've been craving for some like challenge for a while. It's been a while since I've had a real challenge. So I'm like, this seems like a good game for me to complete. And I saw like I visited this site which is True Achievements, which gives you like the rarity of the achievements.
Oh yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
I was looking at the game, and it had this very rare achievement, which was Pantheon of the Hollownest. I'm like, yeah, this seems interesting for me to try. So that was my first take on the game. And then I saw them play at the same time as Celeste, actually. And I thought about both games like, these games are fucking special. I need to play these games. So in my circle, like they both played it. They're like the main gaming circle that I know.
Right.
Outside of that, I would say that one or two sponsors from Globku's channel know the game, because there was a time where I was doing the Pantheon of Hollownest or practicing for it, and I think I was doing a stream, and they were watching and they were like, "Oh yeah, I tried it, I played this game," but not a lot of them. Just like definitely less than it deserved.
Yeah, like it's. I don't think a game like this will ever be mainstream, just because of that's just the nature of like what it is.
It's sort of like Dark Souls, right? It is a game that is not made for everyone.
This game is kind of like Dark Souls.
And it's I know it's like a cliche to just mention this Dark Souls and when we talk about Hollow Knight, but the fact is it is sort of like that.
Hey, Orna.
What's up? And it's not just like the way it works where when you die you lose your souls and you can get them back. It's the way it's it's a difficult game.
I've always had an interesting take on this, because there is very obviously Dark Souls inspiration in this game to some degree. I don't think it's nearly the degree at which people say it is, but I think because of what happened, because like in 2017, like every fucking game critic ever was comparing shit to Dark Souls.
Yeah, everything was
just
Soulslike.
the thing you did, which obviously wasn't warranted, because there's obviously a lot of problems with that. But now it's resulted in this, like, I don't want to call it a Streisand effect, because that's not the appropriate term, but like the opposite has happened. And now 3 years later, there are games that are genuinely like Dark Souls, haha, but you're not allowed to compare Dark Souls to anything anymore, because people are just reminded of that wave of journalism in 2017 where everything was compared to Dark Souls.
Yeah.
So now you compare anything to Dark Souls and people just automatically get sick to their stomachs. Like, this game isn't Dark Souls. Like, well, no, it's fucking not. It's not what I'm saying. But the inspiration is obvious. It's important to recognize where it came from.
Yeah, this is like...
Games can be like Dark Souls. Get the fuck over it.
The main thing about this game, and people need to realize that Dark Souls changed the genre of action RPGs forever, and that game's just changed the gaming industry forever as well. Like the way Miyazaki came up with some of the concepts he did, it's just fucking amazing. And obviously it's gonna change, like the way Resident Evil 4 created the over the shoulder, right? It's like
we were having such a good Resident Evil conversation earlier.
That's true.
We'll come back to that.
We'll come back to that.
Goddamn.
But the thing is, like, it is bound to happen. And when you say that Hollow Knight is a Souls-like game, it really isn't, because this is a Metroidvania game. This is like straight up a Metroidvania style game.
Yeah, like 90%.
But then you have this traits, like you have sort of a currency that if you lose, you can get it back by going back to the place where you died. And that is definitely something that Miyazaki invented. It is. Or if he didn't invent it, which he
definitely notarized it for sure.
Yeah, he notarized it. So it's like, yeah, it's it's a definite inspiration, but it doesn't mean that this game is a Souls-like game, because
Right.
it isn't. Now, what defines a Souls-like game? That's also another thing that is kind of tough to go around.
Another thing people tend to get wrong about just the term Souls-like in general. Souls-like is not a genre of game. Like, it's not. I wouldn't even say it's a subgenre. I wouldn't even go that far. It's just like, I guess it's more of a descriptor word, I guess. Like, it's not really something that has its own category. But
Yeah.
you can look at a game like this, and like I think this is where we differ. Is like, I don't feel a lot of shame in calling this game a Souls-like, because a lot of what made Souls navigation so good was because of how the navigation is like. A lot of the levels would bend around and fuck themselves in the ass, and like, oh, like I'm at a level that I haven't seen in 6 hours, because like, and in that regard, Souls navigation kind of bears inspiration to Metroidvania navigation, right?
Yeah, that's
It's kind of it's a
also
3D
true.
Metroidvania is pretty much what it is.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah,
It's obviously more complicated than that, but
I think as you were saying, like, it's not like Souls-like is a genre
take
by
that
itself. It's more
Yes.
it's more of maybe a couple of traits for an action
Nope.
RPG, right? It's just a couple of traits that Miyazaki invented and implemented into his action RPG game, that, while if they are implemented into other games, maybe you should call them Souls-like. It's just like, yeah, I think that's what it is. It's just a couple of traits in a game.
it's just a descriptor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think a game needs to be a spitting image of Dark Souls to be a Souls-like. That's why I think Hollow Knight is kind of a Souls-like. It's not just like Dark Souls, but it's enough like Dark Souls
It has
for the
some
comparisons to be
traits.
kind of warranted.
Yeah.
How the fuck do I get to Queen's Garden?
That
I
is
just
a
got the
great
Shadow
question.
Dash, so I'm trying to figure out how to.
Queen's
Son of a
Garden, I think,
bitch.
is.
Oh, I have to go here. Through. I would go through Fog Canyon, but I don't have Isma's Tear yet. I guess I could go and pick that up. I'll pick that up. I'll pick the fuck out of that. Can swim in some acid.
Like, for example, Death Stranding was released a couple of months ago, and
That was a game.
And Kojima was saying that the game was a new kind of game called Strand game. No, that is not a fucking genre. What the fuck are you on about? It's just a.
I love Kojima. Don't get me wrong, but that game was not it, Chief. Like, I'm sorry.
The thing I love the game. I just, the one thing about that game is, and I love that he did it. It's definitely not a game for everyone,
Yeah.
but he still did it. And
It's a great game. I just can't recommend it to anyone that wants
It
to
is-
try it out.
Sure. But that's the
one of
beauty of
those.
it. And that's one thing I praise Sony a lot. It's because they fucking risked it all with that game, because it's so weird. And I know Kojima sells games, and people have told me, like, maybe they didn't really risk it because Kojima sells games, and to an extent I can agree, but at the same time, it is a fucking weird game. Like, it's fucking weird to see. It's a fucking weird story, but at the same time, it's weird to play the game. Like, you
I
just
saw like a fucking, it's like a meme, it's like how Kojima's creative process for selecting the storylines of his games, and it's just like this fucking Wheel of Fortune setup. He's like, he spins the wheels, like, okay, we're gonna put a baby inside Norman Reedus.
That's amazing. It's a bit like that.
Make it so.
It kind of makes sense at the end, and the story is much more simple than you would imagine, considering. But I do think that the game is amazing, but I see why it is not for everyone. And like I said, he was calling it a strand game. It's a fucking action game.
Which, yeah, like what the fuck is that? It's like, why are you trying to reinvent the wheel on something that's already been...
Yeah, it's
already been done. Like, there's no point.
There is some stuff that he did, but I don't even think that...
I don't want this guy right now.
I don't even think that he did anything exactly new, or the way he did it was making some stuff together that have never been together in a game.
Yeah, like in that regard, like nothing can... I think we're past the point where things can be like completely new, because things that are new are just like it's just this amalgamation of things that haven't been tried together in a certain combination before.
Yeah, I guess the last new thing we had in a way was Dark Souls.
Kinda, yeah. And even that, like when you strip it down, like even that isn't like, it was new, yeah, but it borrowed elements from things that were already in place. It's like, oh, when you die, you lose your currency. Okay, that's been a concept for forever.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, but what if you had a chance to retrieve it? That's also been a thing.
And what if the enemies respawn when you hit the checkpoint, or what if you die, the enemies are there again? Sort of those concepts that he did. And not only that, the way he tells the stories, the way he writes the stories, and like the way you go around the lore of his games make a difference. And
I've proclaimed since the day that I played Dark Souls that the reason it's so popular is because of how the navigation works. And like the navigation and like the story and how everything, it's not one thing in particular, it's how everything works in tandem with each other.
Yeah, I agree. And also
it's a really unified experience, I guess is a way to put it.
I think it is a very addicting game as well because of the how the enemies work, and
it's just a nice little time sink.
It's very well thought. Everything in that game is well thought. Every area, apart from Dark Souls 2, which obviously was not done by Miyazaki, and you can tell the difference. And not even saying that it's a bad game, because it's not, but it's different. You can see the difference.
Really hope I'm going in the right direction here.
I'm not even, like, I'm looking and I'm not even paying attention.
It's just we're just along for the ride. It's fun.
Yeah. And yeah, it's like it's everything is well thought, I feel. And
I'm pretty sure I'm in the right spot.
You have the...
Yep, I'm in the right spot. There's the thing that I was looking for.
In Rusty we trust.
We're getting there.
And yeah, so like there's also another thing that I feel like...
Oh shit.
There is action RPGs. And then there are RPGs made by Miyazaki, and that's it. That is the era we live in. Every game that Miyazaki releases is gonna be fantastic. I have no doubt
fucking
of that.
Elden Ring hype.
Yeah, we know that game is gonna be fucking awesome. Granted, I do feel like I would prefer having a Bloodborne 2. Maybe because I'm not sure if we're ever gonna have a Bloodborne 2.
I don't think it's gonna. If it does happen, Elden Ring is definitely gonna happen first, because a lot of that is up to Sony itself. And not Miyazaki, because I know Miyazaki probably wants to make a Bloodborne 2, but like Sony owns the property, which kind of sucks in its own way.
Yeah. I do think
whether
that
or not a Bloodborne 2 happens is going to be up to them, not Miyazaki.
I think the game was very successful, but at the same time, like, I think it was like it was Bloodborne's anniversary the other day. I think it's like 5 years old or something like that.
I think so. It was released in March 2015, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And
holy fuck, that game's 5 years old. Are you shitting me?
And not a single
Get
mention.
out of the fucking corner.
Not a single mention by Sony. Like, not a single tweet. Anything. It seems like the game is like...
I mean, I fucked up that dash.
It seems like
it's nowhere near as popular as Dark Souls as a franchise, for sure. But I think that's just because it hasn't been given the chance. Like, there's one Bloodborne game, and there's like 3, honestly, if you put all the DLCs together, almost 4 Dark Souls games.
Yeah.
Like, just playtime wise. It's because Souls is just like a more established franchise than Bloodborne is, which sucks because I feel like it's not being given the chance that it needs to get that following.
Yeah, sort of like Sekiro is sort of like the same, in the same spot. I feel like Sekiro is really special and that game is amazing.
Right. Sekiro is also way too new to say anything in regards to like what a sequel would look like, because that game just came out last year.
I think the thing is, in a way, Sekiro also got a lot of attention because of this game should have had an easy mode, and then you fucking play the game and it's fucking easy, and I don't.
Is that where that started?
Yeah, Sekiro,
the whole easy mode discussion. Oh shit.
Yeah, Sekiro had the biggest. This game needs an easy mode because people want to experience the storyline.
I never played too much of Sekiro. I don't think I played. I played it. I don't think I've played enough of Sekiro to have an opinion on that.
I don't. Honestly, I feel like the game is easy. Because there's one thing about Sekiro, and that's the main people. That's the main thing people need to understand of why the game is different from any other Dark Souls, is that game is not really an RPG. That game is more of an action game, because you don't have different weapons.
Losing all the customizability.
Yeah, and you need to understand that that's the way you wanted to create the game, right? It's
Where
not
the fuck
like
am I going now?
It's not better or worse. It's just different, and I feel like the game is super special in its own way, and the gameplay is also very, very awesome to go through. But granted, the replayability is not the same, because obviously if you don't have customization, you're not going to have the same replayability. That's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
But I do feel like the game is not hard at all. Like I've obviously been playing games for way too many years, and I've played hard games, and I love playing hard games, and I might have a different understanding of games from most of people, like casuals, I would say. I
think I'm in the middle. Like, especially when it comes to like Soulsborne stuff, like I'm seasoned enough to make my footage look good, but I'm definitely not speed running shit.
Yeah, I guess.
I think I'm just decent enough, and I think that's with most video games that I've picked up over the past few years. You know, it's like Overwatch being a pretty good example, because we milked the shit out of that for like 4 years, and we're just now starting to come off of it. And I think I was just decent enough at the game for people to look at my footage and be like, oh, he doesn't suck.
Sure.
He's not good, but he doesn't suck.
I don't think you should compare, like, when it
and I'll take that.
When it comes to gaming skills, I don't think you should compare anything. Like, speedrunners are a very specific type of gamers. Yeah, that's true. I feel like I do have a lot of confidence.
I guess using speedrunners was a bad example.
Yeah, because it's very extreme. I feel like
it's a specific type of, yeah,
they're very good at that game specifically, but it does not mean that they're not good at any other games, but they do play that game way too much compared to us, and like obviously they're going to be better. I do feel like I have like a very good way of adapting to video games, and I do feel like I adapt to video games better than the average person.
Better than most. Yeah.
But and that being said, I'm not fantastic at any video game, but I'm very good at every video game.
It's also a matter of just like, because like even people who like, even if you're not recording just like a standard Let's Play like what we're doing right now, it's like people who watch gaming based creators, I guess you could call it. I don't know the specific terminology. I probably should. But just like creators who do games. It's gotten to where people people will attentively watch the footage that's on screen to see if they're actually, you know, like worth their salt.
Right.
And I should be going to the Fog Canyon. And it could be not about, like, the gameplay could just be B-roll. Like, it could just be an accessory, like, in the background. And you could be talking about, like, lore or something's, like, secrets or, like, glitches or anything to do with, like, just the game itself. And people will still ream the shit out of you for your gameplay not being good. It's like, yeah, like the video's good, but you don't know how to play the game, so fuck you.
Yeah, and it's like, am I supposed to be good? This is an history and lore video. Like, am I supposed to be that good?
Right.
Do I need to clear the game without getting hit? Like, what is it? What do you want?
Yeah, and like if you're doing like tips videos and stuff, then obviously you should be recording gameplay that looks good, because that's the whole point of your video. But like we had this on we had this comment on Overwatch videos for the longest time. Okay, I just realized if you hit them with a spell, the spikes don't come out.
Okay.
Interesting.
I've done
4
or 5 playthroughs of that game, and I didn't realize that.
If you hit them with a spell, I just learned that too. If you hit them with a spell, apparently they just don't, their bodies don't explode.
Still learning shit.
Well, they don't explode, but they're like spikes going out of them. Spell builds, boys. They save lives.
But yeah,
Oh,
like
shit.
I guess like the expectation is a bit different when it comes to tips. But even then, I have a good example for this. Obviously, like I am experienced at Dragon Ball Fighters now, but obviously I'm not a professional player.
That's another game I've been needing to play for a while.
And it's like the game, I'm not professional, but if you show me what you're doing, I can probably point out what you're doing. Even if you're better than me, I can point out your mistakes. It doesn't need, I don't need to be better than you to see if you're doing something bad or not, right?
I got like that with Overwatch for a while, because like I would watch Overwatch League matches for a while, and like I would see a DPS like go off and do something that wouldn't work for the hero that they're playing, because like the other team would be playing too close together. It's like you can't attack a support because you know they're gonna have good peel. And I'm criticizing all of this while my plat ass is still like trying to aim a fucking mouse with McCree.
And it's not like you can't understand what they're doing. It's just
putting it into practice is a completely different ball game. I learned.
Also, the circumstances are different, because I feel this a lot whenever I go to tournaments in Dragon Ball. Like, being on the spot is hard. And for example, fighting games, if I have long sets with an opponent, it's very good for me, because I just adapt as I go.
Because you can adapt to their shit, yeah.
But some people prefer to have a better time just having small sets, because they don't adapt as much, but they have this very offensive playstyle where maybe they can get away with 2 or 3 rounds, right? So it's like, it's also the type of gamer that you are, and the way you deal with some of the stuff, the pressure of being on stage, or the pressure of only having 2 rounds to go through and to learn what your opponent is doing. There's a lot of stuff like that. I get one thing we do get a lot is people
stop casting that spell. God damn it.
Is people not understanding.
I didn't get the fucking abyss shriek. God damn it. We were in the abyss at the beginning of the episode.
So I guess this is how we end the episode.
Fuck. No, I think we still got some time left. I'm gonna tab out. That's like 35 minutes. We got 10 more minutes, ballpark. Okay. People have been requesting longer episodes, so I've been trying to keep them around like jumped into that shit.
Okay.
Around like 45 minutes-ish.
But yeah, one thing we get a lot is, and this is something that people fail to understand, especially in fighting games, which is the fact that whenever you're playing a game online, you have delay. And when you're playing a video game like a fighting game, where you have in a fighting game, in a second you have 60 frames, or usually in any game that's running at 60 frames per second. In a fighting game, you sometimes have, out of that 60 frames in 1 second, you have 6 frames to react to something. If you're playing on a console, you get 2 less frames to react to, because there's an input lag for the controllers on a console. If you're playing online, you might get less 3 or 4 frames. That's already something you can't react to. You lost all the reaction frames you had, right? It's and people sometimes don't understand that, especially because I get triggered a lot when I'm playing online, and I get defensive, like, dude, I reacted to your thing. If this was offline, I would fucking punish you, but it was not. We're playing online. So, and sometimes I explain to people, okay, so this was a good match, but if this was online, you wouldn't have a chance, because I reacted to everything you did. But since we're playing online, stuff didn't work. My reactions were sometimes you can't react. You need to read your opponent. You need to be expecting instead of reacting. And it's something people get like, oh, you're just saying that. You suck at the game. You're just saying that. You're just salty for losing the match. You're like, no, man. I really know what I'm saying.
It's easy to talk shit when you win. It's like that's the whole point of talking shit, because you're not supposed to talk shit if you lose. But also, make sure the shit you are talking is fucking correct.
Yeah,
because otherwise there's no point. Like if you beat a guy because there was a lag delay and like you couldn't react to the things appropriately and that's why you beat him, then don't bring that up when you're shit talking the dude that you beat.
But usually that's the thing. Usually people don't understand. People that have that mentality is usually because they never played offline. The other day I was playing with a Portuguese guy. We had sort of a good connection, but some of the stuff he was doing, as soon as the match ended, I was like,
stupid.
Hey, this was a good game. Just tell me one thing. Have you ever played offline? And he said no. And I was like, yeah. I realized that halfway through our set, because some of the stuff you were doing, you just wouldn't go safe with if you're doing this offline. Like, you would get punished hard. But since we're playing online, you get away with it. And he's like, but he was super cool about it. He was like, yeah, I understand that. Now that you mention, like, super bad habits. Because, like, if you press a button out of your turn, if you're playing offline, you can just punish that easily because, well, it's not your turn. You press the button. I'm going to be punishing you accordingly. When you're playing online, you might not be as like playing as perfectly as you would want because, yeah, there's a delay. Then maybe you're not going to be able to punish your opponent. But he recognized that, but some people don't recognize it. And I've got into situations where people play me offline and they say, yeah, it's a different experience. I realize that now because it's just different. And I feel that it's probably like that in a lot of games, but fighting games are very noticeable. Because yeah, it's you need to be very precise. I remember, I don't know if you played Guitar Hero back in the day.
Fuck yeah, I played Guitar Hero back in the day.
Dude, I was, at some point I was playing that shit like on expert, trying to like get 5 stars on every song. And I remember the slightest...
Oh jeez. I don't think I was that gung-ho about it, but I played it pretty religiously.
Oh, I was super into the game. Like I remember, I think it was the time of Guitar Hero Metallica, where there were these super hard achievements where you had like to do maximum scores on Creeping Death, Fight Fire with Fire, stuff like music, songs like that. And I remember like really practicing for it. I remember clearing through Fire and the Flames with 5 stars as well at some point. That was like my top thing for Guitar Hero. And I remember just the slight bit of delay on the television, and I would fuck miss every note. It's insane, man. That is one of the games that I really, really felt. And I had to adjust. Then I swapped I stopped playing on TVs and I started playing on monitors, and my life forever changed. That was.
What was the first? I guess this is probably a good way to end it. But before that, what was the what was the first game that you remember being really, really gung ho about? Like as far as like being competitive. What was the first game that you played where you're like, I'm going to beat this. I want to be the best at this game?
In terms of like competitively, or just like being very good at the game offline, like conquering everything that the game had to offer?
Whatever, either or. Like whatever it meant to you at that time. Because I think for me it was like, oddly enough, I think for me it was Spyro. Because I wanted to like... Okay. I became a completionist for that game like when I was a kid.
I'm gonna say that the game, and I'm pretty sure this is the truth, the game that got me my confidence for offline games mostly, and the reason, like I think I was number 1 in the world for completion in like achievement wise. I had 100% achievements on Xbox for a while. Like I was number 1 in the world for that. And the reason for that completionist run I was doing was one game that got me the confidence that I needed. Back in 2006, you remember Sonic the Hedgehog?
Oh shit!
Like the 3D game that really fucking sucked.
I unfortunately remember that game.
One of the achievements was to clear the game. And this is funny that we're talking about this, because I've actually made a tweet about that game today. I replied to a dude that is streaming.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, the guy, it's Tyrant. It's one of the commentators for Dragon Ball and Street Fighter tournaments, the World Tours. He's streaming Sonic, and I made a post, like I tagged him in a post, and he was like, this game sucks, but I'm still enjoying it. And I made a post like, this is giving me PTSD. And I posted an image of my achievement. And the achievement was clearing every act with an S rank. And for some time, I liked doing achievements, and I'm like, but when I got to Sonic, I was like, nah, I'm not going to be able to do this. This is too hard. But then I did it at some point. And that game...
It's hard until it isn't.
And that game got me when I beat that game, I was like, wait a minute, I'm good at video games. and then I went to complete Dead Rising, which had like a mode where you needed to play like 14 hours in a single day without saving. It's like the survival mode for that game. And then, especially Sonic, but then Dead Rising as well, that is when I got the confidence. And from that moment onwards, it might have been maybe Ninja Gaiden 2 with the ninja, the master.
Ooh.
It's like, oh, it's the mission mode. Because I remember there was this leaderboard in Portugal. Well, the leaderboard was worldwide, but you could also see...
Ninja Gaiden 2 was the shit.
That game was the shit. And I remember going to this, I think it was mygamercard.net, which was something that you could see like the per country and per game, how many achievements people had. And there was not a single person in Portugal that had that game completed, like both campaign and mission mode. Mission mode was sort of a DLC. And when I got to be the first Portuguese guy to complete that game, that is when I really realized, like, okay, I'm fucking good. I'm really
actually good as shit. Yeah.
I'm good as shit at this shit.
You gotta flex what I got. I think for me it was Devil May Cry 4, which is the first Devil May Cry game that I played. And they have like leaderboards and stuff for like the amount of points that you get during missions. there was this OG motherfucker that was just insanely good at every single DMC. And I'll sit on the Coliseum bench, and that's where we can end it. This episode, at least. But there was this dude named Carbonox Ratchet. Like, from the like a Ratchet and Clank inspired username. His name was Carbonox Ratchet. And he was like, when it came to DMC, like Devil May Cry stuff, he was just the fucking man. Like, you just didn't mess with him. And my crowning moment of, like, one of the first times where I realized, like, being competitive actually feels kind of good. It was on a mission on DMC4, and on the leaderboards, I smoked his fucking ass on, like, one mission. He was consistently on top of the leaderboard, like, everywhere else, but that one mission I got so good at, and I just fucking slaughtered him on the leaderboards. I was, like, a good 500 places up from where he was. I mean, he still beat the shit out of me on every other mission, but, like, that one mission, I was proud of it.
It felt good.
I think that's when I finally figured out. I was like, okay, being competitive and actually, like, winning, like, the spoils of victory, it feels fucking good.
And it means that as much as it does, but the fact is, this is our main hobby, and realizing that you're actually good at it, it feels good. It feels good.
Yeah. I think that's about where we can draw it, I guess.
Well,
just close the curtain. Gonna refill my sperm bank. I'm gonna sit my ass back here.
All right, man. Thank you for having me on this episode, and I guess we'll see you guys next time.
Leave. Video's over. Bitch.